We did a drugs and cults issue of the magazine, back when the magazine used to have themes. And I joined 3 cults simultaneously. And one was like this guru cult called Adidam, whose guru was a guy who was born Franklin Jones, but he had become Adidas Samraj, and it's your basic guru kind of jazz.
Yeah.
Then what were the others? And I went to the Moonies, the Unification Church, like the Koreans, you know. They had a church on like 44th Street, and I joined, or I went to church with them, hung out, effectively joined. I once I was done with the article, I never went back. Right. But then Scientology was up on 46th Street. And
Did
so
you join Scientology?
Legally, I don't know if I should, legally, I'm not even sure if I did or not. I went, hung out with them, took a bunch of classes. I was twinned to someone who was joining Scientology.
Twinned?
Really, they give you a buddy for like your introduction. And his name was Thomas too. And he was like this Indian kid who had, I think, taken a job in the city. Super, like everybody I met there who was being brought into the church, very lonely, like just clearly lonely and nothing to do, right? And so I felt bad. I was, I guess I was open-minding it and just like getting books, learning about the stuff or whatever. And then to watch a guy like totally eat it up, I just always wanted to be like, hey buddy, just like grain of salt with this stuff. Or it's like, if you need to meet some girls or something, I don't know, like give me, like I can take you to a bar or something.
Yeah.
Right. And it was crazy. The mood of that place. Because, and I was doing all this at the same time as kind of like, funny stunt or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd have to pick what night I was going to my different cult or whatever. And the Moonies were great. I guess it's just sign of the times that, back in the 70s, that kind of shit was scary to people. And I think they've eased off of the mass marriage kind of thing, which is what bummed people out, right? But that first month or, the month I was going to stuff at the Church of Scientology, I was like, it feels like being in a subprime lending bank here, or like shady financial operation. It's like, one, that's how everybody dressed, but two, they'd, get people to sign up for a $200, 30-minute course or whatever, and they'd go back, and you'd see them go back to the office and like start high-fiving each other because they had made a sale. And you're just like, Christ. It's like, we can hear you, right?
And are you just like vigorously making notes this whole time? Like, or are you just memorizing this and then writing it at the end of the day?
I'd get on the subway and I'd write my notes. Okay. Yeah, because I was being super sneaky,
Right. Yeah, covert.
I mean, when there's a classroom, you can take notes,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Did my best to be fair about that.
Did you do any auditing sessions?
Yeah, a couple.
Really? What was that like?
Halfway between like a stage hypnotism and therapy. Like auditing, you like, should we explain what it is?
Yeah, explain what it is.
Well, I didn't, and they didn't break because I was there of my own accord and they weren't trying to like trick me into coming to a Scientology office. I didn't get the e-meter, which I was kind of sad about. The e-meter? Yeah. Oh, man. That's basically to bring in,
Funny story.
To dazzle the rubes. Yeah.
My real estate
did mine.
broker bought me an e-meter as a gift.
Oh, that's neat. Hamilton I lived with Hamilton Morris for a little bit.
Yeah,
he had an e-meter at his house, I think.
Really?
I don't think we ever fired it up or anything. But I was always like, oh.
He told me he has an astrology computer.
Oh, I saw that. No, I texted him after watching the interview, and I was like, "You found one of those?" He's like, "My pride and joy." That thing's amazing.
Yeah, what a
did he
weird
show you
story.
The picture? Like the printer is a whole different component for the astrology thing.
Oh, we just looked up photos
on
Google.
Okay, but did you see the whole thing? It's enormous.
Oh no, I don't
There's
think
like
so.
What do you call that? There's a thing that looks like an old calculator, and then
that's what we saw.
The brain of the thing that also has its printer in it. So it prints out like ticker tape and you rip it off and
whoa,
that's your horoscope.
How crazy is that they actually spent taxpayer dollars to make this?
Oh.
This is it?
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, you can see the whole thing. The Digicomp. Yeah. Jealous of that. He's got an impressive archive of arcane crap. Anyway, auditing, I just sat chair to chair with a nice little old lady who, like, I think we held hands while we did it, and you shut your eyes and you try to like basically remember back, but project yourself back into a memory. And and then walk through that memory. And you pick a memory based on a time when you had some sort of hardship or something like that, or whatever. And then you just keep doing it, right? And so you'll explain the memory to them. You'll walk through it, and then they'll be like, okay, go back. It's like, and then you start over and you try to, and they're like, what was the term? Sorry, it's been 20 years. They'd be like, remember more. And it'd be interesting as you do this, that you either are confabulating or recovering more and more memory. It becomes a more and more vivid picture in your head. The details fill in, and you can have insights that way. I thought auditing, it's interesting in that,
it's like a real thing. Like it's actually
totally
can be helpful.
He ripped it off of a psychological school in the 30s. L. Ron Hubbard ripped it off from a psychological school in the 30s, whose name I forget. It's kind of like fallen by the wayside, but it's it's good practice. And as it's the kernel of truth at the heart of
yeah, sure,
whatever you want to say.
Right. Did it help you at all? Do you think?
Helped me write the article.
Helped you write the article. No, that's all that counts, right?
Maybe. I mean, I wasn't itching to go back.
Yeah, for sure.
And have a loan pushed on me, but it seemed, it was cool to sit and talk about yourself. I did it 3 times, and it was like, there was some sort of insight in there. Nothing major. But.
Yeah, I have a friend. It's actually, let's just call him a friend, who works for a big company in downtown Clearwater.
Yeah,
that is I think the owners are Scientologists. They're members of the church. It's weird because all the richest people around here are Scientologists.
Right.
And
you see how that works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the floors are like segregated, right? Oh. So you'll have floors of workers that are non-PSYOs.
Oh.
And then you'll have separate floors where you have all the executives are PSYOs.
Yeah.
And
they can keep all the.
It's kind of like a weird.
Keep the unclear away.
It's kind of like a cultish version of The Office, where they all kind of like whisper and make jokes under their breath about the Scientologists.
Right.
And then when they come around, they're
yeah.
try to cover their ass and he was explaining to me. I was asking him because we were getting lunch in Clearwater. I'm like, how do you know? Can you tell just by walking down the street who's a Scientologist and who's not? Like, just aside from like the Sea Org members that they all wear the vests.
No shit. Oh, they don't wear their dress whites.
Right.
Like they aren't in full uniform.
Some of they typically wear like a vest with like a white collared shirt, and they all wear the same exact thing.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they look like
a regular, like a formal vest.
They look
right?
they look
like
kind
butlers.
of like flight attendants.
Right.
But other than that, if you could find like a pedestrian or just a civilian Scientologist at a restaurant or like a grocery store,
it's like Mormons. There's a look. Yeah.
And I asked him, I'm like, what is that? How do you find it? And he's like, just look into their eyes, and you will just get this sense of this robotic soul. They're like robots. And I was like, he goes, let's try it right now. He goes, look around this room, and we're sitting in this little dining room attached to a grocery store. And he goes, there's one of them in this room. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like trying to look around, and sure as shit, I could tell. I'm like, that's the guy.
You called it.
He's like, yep.
Amazing.
So it was interesting phenomenon, but like, it's one of those cults. Scientology is one of those cults where like, it's borderline. It's not illegal, right? It's not an illegal cult where they're like they are breaking the law. They're committing fucking human atrocities with slavery, enslaving people and taking people's babies away from them against their will. But like, you could literally, especially around here, or I'm sure in New York and LA, everywhere, they could just be they could be a part of your group and you would never know it. Like, it's not like they're actively pushing it on you or talking about it,
Daywalkers.
Yeah. Daywalkers, right?
No,
it's
I
like,
get you.
It's like you would never know who they were because they're a part of this weird thing, but they also never talk about it. Like, you can never have a conversation. I've never had a conversation with an active Scientologist.
Yeah.
Because it's against their religion to talk about it to
Is it? Okay.
non-Scientologists
or non-interested.
I think so.
Yeah. I was going to say, how do you get more?
Because they're afraid of getting ratted out by other Scientologists because they tell on you
or made fun. Oh yeah. No, worst thing
you get a write-up.
squirrel. Yeah.
Right. So it's an interesting phenomenon.
Suppressive persons. That's what I was trying to remember.
That's what
so
it
they
is.
keep the suppressive persons on a different floor at whatever this business is.
Well, no, they're not. No. The business is allowed to have non-Scientologists.
Right. But they keep them a floor below.
Yes, but they're not suppressive people because they could be. It doesn't matter because they're not initiated into Scientology, basically.
Well, that's exactly who SPs are.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
People who,
but you can also be a suppressive. Can you be a suppressive person that is also a Scientologist?
Yeah, that's like. I believe so. Oh, you know what? Don't take this is 20 years ago.
Yeah,
so
who knows?
Don't take
this shit's ancient.
Any of my word about this.
Are we turning into China?
There are worse places to turn into. I kind of like China, frankly.
Really?
Yeah.
When's the last time you were there?
It's been a bit. 2014, 2015 maybe.
Okay.
Or so. But I like growing up, like I was really, like we didn't have the term weeaboo yet, but me and my friends, we loved like Akira, and we called it Japanimation back then, like anime, right? Like I remember when Hollywood Video changed the shelf from Japanimation to anime, and we were like, anime? What the fuck is this? And we're like, that's how they say it in Japan, right? Anyway, so I always loved Japan growing up, right? And it didn't mean I hated China, but it was like my preference would have been, if I can go anywhere in the world, I would love to go to Japan.
Yes.
And I ended up pitching and then getting roped into some stories in China, like which I was equally excited to do, but I never thought China would be my thing. And then I went there and I was like, this place rules. This feels like what I assume 1970s America felt like.
What?
These people are awesome. This place is great.
How so?
Well, I mean, it's, speaking in crass generalizations, it's a bunch of second generation farmers who were just yanked into modernity like 30 years ago, maybe 40 years ago at this point or whatever. Like, people spit in the streets constantly. You see comb-overs that you can't believe. No one expects to be filmed or appear on TV. They don't have that like star lust that's just like endemic to the average American. They're just kind of going about their own fucking business. And I would, when I'd go somewhere, we had a really cool office too. We had a foreign office in China, Vice China. Yeah. And the editor was this rad gal named Maddie Ju, right? I might be fucking up her last name.
Maddie Ju, shout out.
And then this other guy I forget his title there, but he ruled. His name was Billy Starman. Anyway, they were, served as fixers, helped me around like with the rest of the crew and all that. And, anytime I go somewhere, you at least try to learn like, how do I say like please and thank you in the language, or like, how do I go to the bathroom, or excuse me would be a big one, just so like, you can at least learn those 10 phrases in any language, right? And so I was trying to do that with Mandarin, and they gave me, ni hao, shu shu, the basics and stuff. And I was like, how do you say please? And they're like, we don't really use that very often. They're like, don't worry about that. And I was like, oh, okay, well, how about like, excuse me, like just the basic, if I bump into someone or if I do something wrong or whatever. And they're like, yeah. They're like, we never say that.
No, man.
They're like, but what I can tell you, it was like, but let me tell you how to say stupid, and that's shabi. And I was like, oh, okay. So they taught me shabi, nubi, which is like, they were like, that means fuck yeah. And I was like, doesn't that literally mean cow vagina? And they're like, there you go, you're catching on, right? And then like tsonima, which is like, I'm butchering these, like, no doubt, which it means fuck your mom. And they taught me that. They were like, don't say that to people. People will actually fight you over that.
Oh, really?
But then one time I was there and I was having it was like November. I was in Beijing, and Beijing is kind of like Washington D.C. It's not my favorite city. I got to go to a lot of different parts of China, and that was I don't prefer Beijing, whatever. It was like raining and shitty, and we're staying at this hotel where in the morning these like shady adoption services would bring a Chinese baby that was going to be adopted to an American couple. And for some reason, all the American couples, like we saw this over and over for like a week and a half. It was always different couples. And I want to say all of them, but at least the majority were lesbian couples, which is kind of funny. So it's like 6 a.m, we'd be getting up and getting ready to get our coffee or whatever. And that's when they would be introducing these American would-be parents to their adoptive children. So it just had a real kind of fucked up mood there. And then my underwear kept getting stolen, which the other members of the crew were like, no one's stealing your underwear. I'm like, I'm not out here trying to accuse some fucking maid of stealing my underwear, but it's like, but where is my goddamned underwear? Like, why do I have 0 underwear? And then I mentioned it to Maddie and Billy Starman, and they're like, oh, they 100% stole your underwear. I was like, see, thank you. It's like the Chinese back me up on this, right? And anyway, so and I got like slightly sick, and it was like ice rain, right? Like Beijing's like, I think on the same latitude as like Minneapolis, so it gets like nasty there, right? Anyway, so I had to go buy underwear on like a day off that was technically like a sick day, and I just remember having my underwear, not being happy about having to like go out and find a shopping mall, standing in like ice rain without an umbrella, and I was like 2 miles from the hotel, and so I was trying to get a cab, and every time I'd tell the cab driver the name of the hotel, they'd just peel off. Like, I think the deal was it wasn't far enough to be worth it. They wanted to take me to the airport or something like that, and just like they were going to go find a better fare. And the third or fourth cab who did it, I just momentarily lost my mind. He rolled up the window, started to pull off, and I kicked his door, like the back passenger side door, and I yelled, "Sony Ma!" Maybe I did it better, maybe not.
Fuck your mother?
Yeah, fuck your mom, right? And then brake lights immediately, and I was like, "Oh shit, that was so stupid." I was like, now I'm drenched, I'm freezing, I have like the flu or something, holding my underwear like a chump, and now I'm gonna get in a fight or whatever. And he backed up, and I was like, I had nowhere to go. Like, it was a crowded sidewalk. And he rolled down the window, and I saw his face, and he was like, "Hey," he's like, "Hop in." And I was like, and I got in the car, and he just took me straight back to the hotel. Knew exactly where it was.
You got Moxie,
didn't overcharge me. He was talking to me the whole time, and I was like, "Oh, sure, yeah, that, whatever." I don't speak Mandarin, but keep the ball rolling with you. And I mentioned that to like Maddie and Billy the next day, and they were like, "Dude, you're learning." They're like, "You're adapting to Chinese culture."
That's hilarious. Like, so they got a sense of humor.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's an important, I'm trying to think anywhere in the world I've been where people aren't in general funny. That's a big thing about Iraq. I got to go to Iraq twice, and the northern part, which is safer, was until ISIS, fuck. And then I know a couple kids who like were Americans but grew up in Baghdad, or one's from Mosul. And those guys are the funniest motherfuckers I've ever met in my life. Like, I think a major sort of sense of cultural friction that maybe could have been avoided in the build-up to the Iraq War, because I've also spoken about this to I was going to say a bunch, but a single soldier who had been in Iraq mid-2000s, I forget what year, whose sense of the Iraqis was, he was like, "Oh, these are backwards, rural, goat-herding people." And it's like, my sense of Baghdadis especially, but Iraqis in general, I was like, those guys are the New Yorkers of the Middle East. I was like, they are from an 800-year-old urban environment. They act like guys who grew up in the Bronx, basically, which is not without its own set of, issues. But it's like, I wonder if, it's just a little pet theory that it's like, if American soldiers were taught that, then I'd be like, watch out for these guys. They can shiest you sometimes, but they're overwhelmingly funny, and they like joking, and they like, so don't get your panties in a twist if they're joking with you or whatever. Recognize this, how that might have affected the war. If like all the American soldiers didn't think it was like, oh, these guys are rednecks, like, who don't understand anything. Right.
Yeah, these guys have a personality and a sense of humor.
They're human beings, right?
What is it about? What is it about these specific cultures and parts of the world that like makes people like that? Because I would never fucking imagine, I would never guess in a million years that somebody in fucking China or Iraq would be like that.
It would be funny.
You would. I just imagine them to be fucking blank, no emotion,
inscrutable.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you got to go there and meet them. They're not all funny, but in general. Sure. They're pretty fucking funny. Swear like those goddamn sailors. Once you learn, like, I only learned like 5 or 6 swear words, but then I was just like, whoa, like, you guys,
they aren't offended,
letting everyone have it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it has something to do with like living in a shitty fucking being in a shitty situation your whole life. You kind of have to have a sense of humor to get through it. Maybe.
Could be. Yep.
What so working in China though, like doing journalism in China, were there any fucking guidelines you guys had to abide by?
Did they come and throw us in the clink? Yeah, no. We were doing like cultural shit though, right?
You didn't talk about
Tiananmen Square,
PLA or anything.
Oh, not that either. Yeah, or the Uyghurs. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
no. Or there.
Was that a rule or was that a choice?
It was a choice. That just wasn't the stories I was there to cover. People love to be like that, especially like about Vice. They're like, "Well, would you ever write a story?" While I was working at Vice, like write a story about the founders of Vice. And I was like, now you're gonna make it sound like if I say no, it sounds like I'm afraid of doing something. I was like, why would I be fucking interested in that in the first place? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, no, it was like a thing about dating due to the gender disparity, which is kind of like a lingering effect of the one-child policy.
The one-child policy, right?
So it left. I don't know if this is evened out over the years, but a woman named Mara Vistendahl wrote a really good book, whose name I don't remember, but it's about how whereas in most parts of the world, women are slightly disproportionate to men, that in China it's the reverse, that there's more men than women, and it has these weird effects. Like, and we were there specifically, like, inspired by that book to try dating and to meet matchmakers and to go to weird things where, guys grow up in villages where there's almost literally no women, and so they have to go to the city and find one, or they have to try to online date and da-da-da-da-da. And then what else? Yeah. So, yeah, no, nobody fucked with us, but we had our paperwork in order. We were there with, Chinese nationals who ran an edition of the magazine. Although, and that edition started in 2009 or 10, maybe later, there was a little bit of back and forth sometimes between the editors, because, the website was supposed to be this kind of collecting place for all the different foreign editions of Vice. So you could see something from Vice Germany, that'd be cool because, who knows anything about what's going on in Germany right now or whatever. And there'd be some like anti-CCP, like not anti-Chinese, but anti-Communist Party things occasionally, and the Chinese editors would be like, "Hey, like we can't have this show up on our side of the site. We need to, kind of cordon this off. This could actually get us in trouble." Different places though, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Did you
Anyway, it didn't feel like an Orwellian shithole.
It didn't feel like an Orwellian shithole. You guys created this term called immersionism, where you're like, "Oh, we're just going to start immersing our, how do you say the word? Immersing. There we go.
Like in water. Yeah.
Immersing ourselves in these situations and in these different types of cultures around New York. And you went to like where was it? Like you went to like a Haitian house with a bunch of Haitians or something?
No, I mean, years later, I took part in a voodoo ceremony out in like East New York with a bunch of Haitian immigrants.
Okay.
He's talking about the first article I wrote, like under my own name, right? Which was with a Dominican family just up in Washington Heights. I just hung out in these people's house for 3 days and wrote about it.
Oh, okay.
That's how we did things back then.
That's a good way to do stuff.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah. They were real nice. Yeah.
I think it's cool. I think it's like with podcasting, with like the explosion of podcasting, which I think has reached a critical mass a while ago, probably. It's you really kind of can appreciate the immersionism stuff.
It's the best way to do anything, right?
Because with podcasting, it's just like we're just talking about things, right? You've been to these places, you've seen stuff, and I by no means am trying to say that that's the only way to do stuff, and you can't talk about things.
It's obviously a good way to do stuff.
It's a great way to do stuff.
You miss things,
You missed exactly. Like it's easy for the telephone game to. When you're doing podcasts and somebody's coming on a podcast and saying, "Oh, I read an article that somebody wrote based on a book that somebody wrote about an experience that they had when they were in Nazi Germany in the 40s or whatever."
Right.
You know what I mean? Versus like you specifically were the direct source on the ground, experiencing shit, talking to people that were there. Like that's something you kind of lose with the whole podcasting phenomenon.
And there's a lot of intangibles that really don't that you have a difficult time properly communicating to someone who's never been to a place that you've been or dealt with the people that you've dealt. Like just the smells in different places are a sense that you don't can communicate a lot of things. Can be, it's the difference between knowledge and experience, really. And Gavin mentioned that we were, like he coined the term immersionism to describe the way that Vice did stories, which was go to the place, hang out with the people, or to get the people to write the thing. You know, one of Jesse's crowning moments was he did an Iraq issue that was 2007-ish, written 100% like, or mostly written cover to cover by Iraqis. Right?
Really?
That like laid out, and they did the music reviews, you know. I forget if there was a fashion shoot in that or not. But anyway, I thought it was like, I was fucking proud to work on it, and it was a masterpiece of something. It was like, we've been at war with these goddamn people for 4 years, and it's like, this is the first time I'm reading. There was an article at the beginning of it that's just like, here's what Baghdad looks like. Here's the shape. Here's a map of Baghdad. Here are the different neighborhoods. And I was just like, how, like 4 years of war, and we are the first people to print the geography of like the green zone and the different neighborhoods and shit of that nature. It's crazy.
Wow.
Right? But so that was set in opposition to what was called Google journalism back then, which was, you know, the worst case scenario would be Jason Blair. You remember him at the New York Times? He was a reporter who kind of like, I think he was just having one really. And he stopped going out on assignments and he started just making up like details about it. So he'd be like reporting on a story. I think the one that got him in trouble was he reported on something at a farm in Virginia, right? And he actually called the people and interviewed them on the phone. But when he wrote up that he'd been there. He wrote all these details about, you know, the way their barn was situated or what they were wearing or things like that. And some subject called, you know, whoever the person you call for that kind of crap is at the New York Times, the ombudsman or something, and was like, hey, this guy never came to our house. Like, we talked to him on the phone and we did some emails or whatever. And then it became a scandal because they looked back through his reporting for the previous, I think, 2 or 3 years, and they were like, oh shit, this guy hasn't left his apartment
Jesus
for all of this. And then he wrote a book called Burning Down My Master's House, where he pretty flagrantly played the race card in excusing his own shitty journalism. Anyway, that was what Vice was trying to set ourselves at. He was black, but this was what we were, you know, immersionism was set against. There was also Stephen Glass. There was a movie about him. He was doing it for the New Republic. No, these are all, okay. Generation gap.
Tell me about him.
He just made about 42.
Okay, you're only 4 years older than me.
That's a full, you know, a full set of high school classes, though. That's a proper. Well, that's how the generation gaps in America work.
I had 6 years in high school, but
you start when you're in like 7th grade, or
no? I got held back.
Oh, you did?
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry.
6 of the best years of my life.
Hey, there you go. Oh, I see. We're having fun. Okay, sorry. Whoosh. Stephen Glass is just like he was a couple years before Jason Blair. He wrote for the New York Republic. He was like a hotshot young reporter. I think they're based out of DC. I forget. There's a movie about him called Breaking Glass, right? And it turned out he was just completely making shit up. Like, he wrote an article about a hackers convention that he got into, and there was like a 16-year-old hacker there who had been hired by somebody he had hacked. He'd hacked like a big computer firm, and so they were hiring him to do their security. And so this kid who was, you know,
after he hacked
a famous hacker, which like this kind of shit did happen in the world, that, you know, people who grew up hackers became security consultants because they knew.
Yeah, the FBI hired him too.
And that kind of shit. Yeah, no, there's a history of that. And but he claimed he had gone to this hacker convention. He'd met this kid. This kid was getting now, you know, a 6-figure salary at age 16 from having committed crimes against this place. And so he was being celebrated by all the other hackers, and none of this shit existed. None of this shit was real. And then he would cover his ass by, I think he had his cousin or his brother or something would answer the phone. He'd be like, oh, here are my notes. You know, here's the number if you need to corroborate any of this with, you know, whoever I'm claiming I got quotes from or whatever, and they would call the number and it would be his brother being like, yeah, that's what I said. I did that. He made some websites, you know, for like, it was, you know, the hacker kids like security company or whatever. So he's like, you can go check out their website. Like, it's totally up. And I think he'd been doing this for years, but the story that got him was the hacker thing. Cause they were like, this kid's hacker website like makes no sense. It looks like shit. It's like, it's like the kind of like HTML programming I would do, you know. It's like, this kid's a computer expert. Anyway, there was a rash of that shit happening in the 2000s, and those are the extreme examples. In general, Google journalism was just, you know, lazy people who didn't leave their desks and would just be like, oh, I'll just get a quote from him, over the phone.
Right.
Which to me, at least, but I think to us, like people advice, it was like, why bother? If that sounds like a shitty job.
It doesn't like a shitty
part of the
job.
fun, like the funnest part of writing an article is going out, meeting people and talking to people. Sitting at your desk is the worst part. Like,
at what point did you guys start bringing video cameras?
When
you bring video
we
cameras to
started making
Iraq?
video things. Well, there's a wait, what?
Were there any video? Did you guys, when you guys went to Iraq, did you bring any video cameras?
For the Iraqi issue?
Yeah.
We didn't go to Iraq. We communicated with Iraqis, and
okay.
they wrote from Iraq. A couple from
Oh, I
America.
thought I might be mixing that up because I thought Shane did a video in Iraq.
Sarouche did. Sarouche and
Sarouche
Eddie
did.
went to do. They made a whole doc. It was called Heavy Metal in Baghdad.
Yes, that's what it was.
With a Krasikauda, a band of Iraqis, under Saddam, who came out, went to Turkey. I think half of them live in Canada now. I forget. It was a while ago. Good doc though, fucking amazing. Which was based on an article that Gideon Yago, who again, you're gonna be too young to know who he was. He was the glasses wearing guy on MTV News.
Oh, okay.
Well, the girls liked, right? He wrote the first article that was just about, he's like, holy shit, there's this cool metal band in fucking Saddam's Iraq, and I met them. They have a crazy practice space or whatever. They have to sing pro Saddam songs. It sucks.
They had to sing pro Saddam songs?
There was, by law.
Did they ever do any songs in the Palace?
No.
Okay.
No. They were an underground band.
Okay.
They were punk. Well, they were metal, but
Right.
they were an extreme metal band, right? God, it never aired, but I did a thing with a couple ladies in death row in Texas, where we went and interviewed some people on death row, and it was about women who would get married to guys on death row, so like death row wives. It was I regret that we never finished that and got an edit out. It was a crazy shoot. But the process of getting the prison to agree, and then, on top of that, you got to factor in a prison in Texas that is death row in Texas, in Huntsville, right? It was like 6 or 7 week pain in the ass,
Yeah. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fucking bureaucratic
They
bullshit
make
you
it,
gotta go through.
yeah. It's the bureaucracy is kind of the point, And it's funny most of the time when you go somewhere to do, like with a camera, to do a documentary about someone's job, anybody who sees it, they're like, oh, cool, like taking an interest in us. And that was, death row was the one place where the guards were sort of like, great, here you are.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything to say.
Those
to you
guys don't want to fucking help you.
Nope.
Those guys make zero money.
And they found out who we were talking to too. They were just like,
Who are you talking to?
it was, oh shit, I forget his last name now. I don't even know how to look him up. He was a guy.
Spit out some keywords and Steve will find them.
Okay, his name's Hank something. I just feel bad not remembering his
Hank,
surname.
Texas, death row. Try that.
And this is going to answer a question I've had for years that I've been cautiously avoiding asking, which is whether or not he got executed.
Hank Skinner?
Skinner. Oh my God! Right as I
Look him up.
That was crazy. Hank Skinner. Thank you.
Did it zap into your head the same time you said it?
It did, like a second before, right?
Wow.
So Skinner was accused of murdering his girlfriend and his girlfriend's two adult, mentally disabled sons from a previous relationship with an axe, right? And this guy was, I think he was in his early 20s or something. He was he was like a roughneck from, I think he's from Lubbock, Texas. He's from North Texas. He worked shampooing hair. Oh, he did die. Okay. Sorry to hear that. God, that guy was remarkable. So anyway, he was
find
accused,
the latest article about his execution.
well, there was one there saying that he'd passed away, which I
Zoom out, Steve.
Well, he had been scheduled to be
zoom
executed,
out.
and Texas,
Like that.
Texas doesn't execute the most
They
people. I think it's either Florida or California has them beat, but Texas prides itself on executing people the most quickly, right?
Go up. Texas death row inmate dies after December surgery for
Oh,
tumor.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He didn't get executed. He died accidentally.
Well, this was the whole thing. So Texas justice is we get you killed quick, right? Like we bring you in there and we execute people as fast as possible. They're proud of that, right? And
Something to be proud of.
this guy was accused of murdering 3 people and claimed he didn't do it. It was a real, I don't know whose story is correct, which is which is a fantastic argument for not killing people, right? Like leave him in prison until you can figure some shit out.
Yeah, the biggest
it was a dubious
argument.
case, right?
Yeah.
And he had been on death row the longest of any inmate who was alive at that point. We're filming him in like 2012, I want to say. And his execution had been scheduled. He'd gone through all his appeals, right? So he was done with all his appeals, but different things kept happening. Like the prison warden was like, yeah, that guy's got 9 lives, then some, because different things had delayed his execution. Like he should have been dead 2 or 3 years before we went and spoke with him. And he got married, married by proxy, right? Because he can't leave death row, to a French woman who is an anti-death penalty activist named Sandrine Skinner. When she took his name, I forget her maiden name. Who we got to speak to, who was there because he was about to be executed. And then they stayed his execution once again, like first time in Texas history kind of shit. It was really weird. But I remember we got an interview with him and we sat down and we chatted with him. And he was like classic North Texas roughneck, like missing a tooth, just like kind of guy you'd see at the back of the bar or whatever. And it was a year after the Werner Herzog documentary, Into the Abyss, which was about death row in Texas, in Huntsville, had come out. And like in the course of just, pleasantries as we're getting the interview started, he was like, he goes, do you know my friend Werner? And I was like, your friend who? And he was like, my friend Werner. And I was like, Werner Herzog? He's like, yeah, that guy. He's like, I gave him his title, right? I was like, the title of his movie? And he goes, he's like, what's the quote? Be careful, those y'all who gaze into the abyss, for the abyss may be
Easy for you to say.
Beware those. I'll stop doing my shitty impression. Anyway, it was beware those who gaze into the abyss, for the abyss also gazes into you. And he goes, Friedrich Nietzsche also sprach Zarathustra. And I was like, be still my heart. It was like, this is a man who's just been sitting reading for 20 years on death row. It's like you took the roughest lump of coal, the Texas prison unit, and have turned him into some sort of like
a literary
rural
scholar.
Diamond. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you died.
What a weird phenomena about these women who want to marry dudes on death row.
That was the whole thing. Yeah.
I actually met a woman once when I was doing a documentary about my friend who's a lawyer, and he was representing a guy who got the death penalty for killing 2 prostitutes. He was a truck driver, and he got 2 prostitutes, and they wound up dead. He maintained his innocence, and this lawyer that I'm talking about is very, very against the death penalty. So he'll just take random death penalty cases like this. And the lady who he was partnering with as her defense team, she fucking married this dude. Right. And she's been representing him for like the past 15 years, 20 years maybe.
I might know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, this was in Stark, Florida, which is like it's the middle of nowhere, Florida. It's out of a fucking movie, dude. It's like it's not even a real place.
Which part of the state?
It's like,
what is it near?
It's like northern middle. I would say it's close to Gainesville, but
Gotcha.
more near to the middle of the state.
Tallahassee or
not that
little
far
lower?
north, a little bit
gotcha.
lower. Yeah.
I know. Okay, yeah, that is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, there's like a couple churches, convenience stores, and like a water tower,
Stark
and then the
County's
prison.
A good name. Yeah, for that.
Stark, yeah,
evocative.
And the sun never shines in Stark.
Oh.
And anyways, so this guy's maintained his innocence, and I don't remember what happened with the DNA. I don't even remember this guy's name, but something happened with where the DNA was like inconclusive or something like this.
Yeah.
And they were still going to execute him. And like leading up to the hours where they were supposed to execute him, they were going back and forth with the Supreme Court. And we're there filming.
Yeah.
And there's this giant field. On one side of the group, there was people that were there in a group to stop him from getting executed.
Right.
And in that group of people, the guy had no friends, but he had people that were like former members of death row who got exonerated.
Oh, okay.
Through DNA evidence, right? So they're like, one of the guys had just got off death row the week before. He's like, I just left death row because they fucking finally got my DNA evidence right.
Yeah.
So, and then the other group of people on the other side of the field, roped off with caution tape, were the victims of the prostitutes or the family members of the prostitutes that got killed, and like all their friends, as well as other people who were victims of similar crimes.
Right.
And dude, what a weird fucking Twilight Zone situation that was, bro.
Right.
And then like we were there for like 8 hours waiting for this guy to be executed. Like they had him strapped to the cross, right? I guess the lethal injection is kind of like a crucifix.
Yeah.
And they put it in like it's like a peep show, right?
With the window,
With the window
right?
and the curtain.
Yeah,
it's like a peep show. And then you have the people.
Wait, did you guys go to the execution?
No, we were across the street from the prison in the field.
Okay.
And
it's like, how'd you pull that one?
but apparently he was in the little showroom, like, and the people that were supposed to watch were sitting in the theater, waiting for this to happen. And this was like an 8-hour ordeal, like before going back and forth to the Supreme Court. And then finally they lost, and they fucking, they killed him.
Yeah.
And just like such a weird, creepy fucking situation. And like, I understand like putting somebody to death for some fucking atrocious crimes, but the like you said, the biggest argument against it is the fact that they get it wrong so many times. Like, how many innocent people have they fucking killed? We don't know. Right. Like, if we had a magic wand and could fucking go back, take a time machine back and figure out if they actually did it, then that would be, I would not have any problems with the death penalty. But this guy, my lawyer friend, he's so against the death penalty. He was just representing a guy.
Well, he knows how the sausage is made. Yeah, he knows the people who are involved in it.
This is
what
how
level of intelligence you deal with sometimes, right?
Totally.
Talk to anybody in any field about how things actually go.
Right.
And they're like, this is all made by idiots, right?
Yeah, totally.
And this is like 100% life and death. Yeah.
Yeah. So much so that he was just representing a guy who was a dentist who killed his lawyer. So he was representing a dude who just killed his previous lawyer, and he was getting fucking the death penalty for killing a lawyer.
What did he have that lawyer for? A previous murder?
I think so.
Jeez, he's just going down the daisy chain. Huh?
So exactly. And then so my friend is representing this guy who just killed his lawyer.
Yeah.
And he fucking somehow gets a hold of a phone call while he's in prison where he's calling his girlfriend or something saying, we're going to fuck this new lawyer out of everything. We're going to somehow get a mistrial and we're not going to pay him a dime. Oh. My lawyer friend got a hold of this. Yeah. And he's like, I'm bowing out of this trial or whatever. And he had the option to give up his evidence, or the attorney-client privilege
was violated.
He could have given that to the judge.
Right.
Which would have made the guy be dead, basically. And he elected not to do it, even after this guy conspired to fuck him over. That's how that's how against the death penalty he is, which is fucking wild.
Good for him.
Yeah. Great guy. But the fucking phenomena of people women wanting to marry people on death row is beyond my comprehension.
Takes all types.
But it's common. It's very, very common.
No, I mean, in terms of numbers, like compared to what? Compared to guys on death row who don't get married, or compared to how many people get married in America? It's a fringe thing.
It is a fringe thing, right? But it's not. I mean, you hear about it.
And we're a big country,
Maybe it's just when it does happen, it's all over the headlines, so we think it happens everywhere.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, Charles Manson got married how many times when he was in prison?
Did he? Yeah, I forget.
He got married a few times, I think.
Was it more than once? Yeah.
I think so. But I think it's like a real psychological thing, like. I mean, I know people who married people in prison. Oh, they eventually got out. They weren't on death row,
I think I'm trying to remember how many people we interviewed who were proper like death row wives, right? And couldn't have been more than 4.
What a good TV show, Death Row Wives.
Maybe actually, they were characters, but it was in general, and it wasn't. There was always a reason. You could always figure it out.
Really?
Like there was always something that had happened. There was a lot of, I forget how many of the 4 had previous, had come out of abusive relationships and things like that. And so you'd think, well, you wouldn't want to go, you wouldn't want to be connected to somebody accused of murder, right? But it's also like, I'm trying to remember who it was who kind of broke this down neatly. It was somebody who worked either in the county clerk's office where they get married or something like that. But like, if you think about it, for a woman who's had a hard time with men and who's, been traumatized, it's like, here's a guy, you always know where he's going to be. Anytime you see him,
he's never going to cheat on you.
There's glass and guards between you, and you can have an emotional relationship with someone who can't turn it around on you, right?
Right.
Who's not going to be able, who can't get through the glass. You can go buy them little snacks that you put in the bucket. It goes over to them. And so
There's no conjugal visits on death row, right?
Not in Texas. That's
Not in
for sure.
Texas.
That's for fucking sure. Yeah. No, I don't know about elsewhere. That's a little European for us here. I've seen a resurgence of IQ talk a lot lately. And
Yeah.
It's like I feel like a lot of these people think it's like a Dungeons and Dragons stat.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't understand how what IQ is supposed to be and how it's assessed or whatever, that it's just like a hard number that is intelligence, you know? And it'd be like that guy is, you know, the guy with the 118 IQ is 5 smarter than the guy with the 113.
Right.
So he should be in charge.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You guys were talking about this too.
Oh, was I? Okay.
Somebody complimented you about having a high IQ. You're like, oh, that's nice. And you were like bragging or something.
Hey, you know what it means.
Something like it's great. Like you like the IQ argument when you're smart.
Oh no! I'm sorry. You're right. I forgot that was in the.
Yeah.
That made it into the cut. I was talking to Gavin about that.
Yeah.
No. I was talking about because he bases a lot of his arguments in IQ and stuff, and I'm like, I think IQ is kind of bullshit. I think it's like, I don't think it equates to intelligence. Like, I don't think there's a hard number that you can put on that, and there's tremendous number of examples that you can pull from just to kind of demonstrate that. And also, it was like when I was talking to them, this would have been in like the mid 2000s, you know, at the Vice office or whatever. And it'd probably be in relation to that book, The Bell Curve. And I'm like, when were all these, you know, when did he IQ test every race? What, like the 70s? Like how hard of a, you know, kind of innate characteristic is this that it's going to last, that we can rely on it 40 years later with a completely different group of people than the sample or whatever? And he said, he was his retort was, he was like, well, one time I heard your first wife say that you had a high IQ. And I'm like, that's your argument? That my ex-wife once said something? It's like, all right.
But you didn't argue about it. You agreed with her.
Well, I don't even know if I was there. I don't even know if that happened.
Right.
He didn't know, like he didn't remember my ex-wife's name.
Right.
He identified her by her breast, which I was like, it was a little, you know.
So what was the premise of that bell curve book?
Oh, just that I never made it more than 5 pages into that.
Oh.
It's famously that there's if you look at IQs by race, the bell curve is a normal distribution, and that the different races come out at different averages on it.
Right.
I think most within a standard deviation, maybe some within 2, but it gets used. It helps prop up arguments that race is genetically determinative of people's intelligence and achievement. And it's like, how many people's IQ tests is this fucking based on?
Yeah, sure.
Like, how are we defining race? It's like,
yeah, and the way he was explaining it, and I could be wrong, is that the argument was it was like recognizing patterns in IQ in different types of races, but you have to look at each individual as like in a vacuum, right? A separate individual.
He treats everybody as individuals.
Keep everybody as individual, right? You can't automatically like take you are Chinese, so you are automatically better at math. Like it's not
right. Even though I could hear him saying that very easily. It's tricky in that the term racism means both hates people of other races, but also there's, I guess, what we used to call scientific racism too. That is like race is a biological reality, and that a person's skin color is directly correlated to, you know, genetically determined traits which govern their intelligence and how they behave and that kind of shit. And they overlap tremendously. One can lead to the other and vice versa and so forth. But yeah.
But so the Chinese argument is interesting. So are Chinese people generally more good at math because of their heritage, or is it because of their culture, that the way their education system works?
It's going to be 99% their fucking culture in my mind.
Exactly. Of course, because
it's
the
like,
whole language is
what
based
is a
on
Chinese person? Somebody with, you know, pure Han heritage, where does that begin? Like, at what point does the Chinese race begin, and what delineates it? If a you know, Korean woman marries a Chinese guy and they have a kid, does he now have half the Chinese prowess in math? Like, it's baloney, you know, it's discredited nonsense.
Yeah. I had this
dude everybody in the world behaves like like they look, you know, it's just not a great,
The funny
doesn't
thing
have much
is,
scientific rigor to it.
Right. Yeah, totally. I had this dude from the Human Genome Project on here, and he was telling me that every single human being on Earth descended from something like 10,000 people.
Right. There's the bottleneck, right?
Yeah.
The big genetic bottleneck.
It's insane.
Yeah, crazy, right?
We came from that many people, and they're like, it's not that fucking, we're not that fucking different. We're pretty much the same. And another funny thing is, even so, like, there's this whole generational war between Israel and Palestine, right?
Yeah.
Also, they're literally genetically identical.
Oh, it's funnier than that. People talk about Palestinian anti-Semitism, and it's like there are Semitic people too, Yes. I mean, it's like, I understand that we're dressing up the word Jew hate with anti-Semitism, but it's like, can we at least be a little more accurate? Yeah.
Right.
No, it is the same fucking
They have
people.
the same exact heritage. They come from the Canaanites, both of them.
Right.
It's just fucking culture shit.
The idea that groups, back when like I was taking like high flute and critical theory like graduate classes in college, we talk about like essentialism and essentialist narratives, and it's the idea that these, the traits, specifically the traits you can see and the traits that you can organize people into groups with, are necessarily innate, and that a Palestinian person must behave Palestinianly because of their Palestinianness, is like 100% concocted horseshit, right? That it's, I don't know. That's
it's different. It's
that all these it's like the borders of a country. There's like, it's like some guy made these, right?
Yeah.
This is, I guess it's become some sort of dog whistle or not, to be like, this is a social construct, which doesn't mean it doesn't have validity or is not important or useful or whatever. It's like, but this is 100% socially constructed shit that could change, that should be examined.
Mm-hmm. And this is also part of the thing we were talking about, like the social contagion and how like the media fuels all this stuff, right? Because like 99.999% of people who have an opinion on things like Israel and Palestine or Iran don't have a fucking clue about what it's like there, or like what the people are like there, nor have they met people there. And it's like fucking, just the television.
But they've all got an opinion. Yeah, they've all got a take.
They've all got a take, which is, they've stolen from somebody else, who that person stole it from somebody else. Of course. And, it's like
internet is a font of received wisdom,
like
if nothing else.
Nothing is fucking real anymore.
Right.
We're in post-reality.
But how real was it before? And why was it real before, right? This is my thing. Mm-hmm. I've got a girlfriend who's kind of freaked out about the fact that you can no longer read the news and trust sources and things of this nature. I'm like, well, why did you trust them to begin with? How much does this actually change your life, right? And how much of this is seeing the lay of the land that previously felt firm and stable from a new vantage point, right? We all know now to take what the New York Times writers write with a grain of salt, because they've fucked up things, right?
Yeah.
And there's a slant to almost everything they write that can be delineated into a discrete agenda.
We're more aware of the bullshit now.
But at what point did this start? Why was it, like, how do you not think that was the case with specifically the New York Times in like the 60s and 70s? And what is then the basis for your understanding of history?
Right.